Trump administration weighs sending 10,000 troops to border, using bases to hold migrants.
Donald Trump working to reshape the immigration system in these United States. And we have some headlines at this hour on that very front. First, the State Department releasing a memo canceling future refugee travel and processing. And then second, and happening right now, the House Judiciary Immigration Integrity Subcommittee holding a hearing on immigration enforcement. In fact, House Democrats are using this as a time to really sound some alarms about these executive orders and actions. Let's listen.
What is going to be the effect of all of these executive orders at this point? It seems almost like they're
Look at this Raskin, total anti-white pig.
calculated to produce more chaos.
Absolutely. He's trying.
They're calculated to destroy the anti-white system that you've created.
To get rid of the legal channels by which people come into the country. He got rid of the refugee program day one. He got rid of the parole processes that allow people to enter legally on day one. He said, we're not going to do any kind of asylum, even for people who are entering the country legally. If you do that, what's the alternative? It's illegal immigration. And really is...
No, there's not going to be any illegal immigration if the border is actually going to be manned by soldiers. And I mean active duty. Unless somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, is it really going to be active duty, or is it going to be more weekend warriors?
As long as we have illegal immigration, it's going to be a major touch point politically.
So having heard that, let's break this down with CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. All right, so Ed, do you really get a sense that the administration knew that these legal challenges were sure to come after day one and that they were prepared?
Oh, yeah, and he campaigned on this, and so did his supporters, on the idea that they're going to try to make dramatic changes. They know it will draw lawsuits. They welcome the challenges, and they believe that ultimately they'll prevail in a court system that is increasingly, at least many of the appeals courts,
Okay, this guy's struggling. This is CBS. I wonder how much they're paying for this terrible reporting. Job is words. Can't find words, though. Washington. So Ramsey Paul mentioned the, without saying, it's the Friends Aliens Act of 1798, which Trump is invoking in his executive order. And we got the whole list from the White House of the executive orders to round up the folks, whatever they're going to end up rounding up. I mean, today, this is where I'm saying it's like there are some positives and some, like, you got to be kidding me. We're back to 2017 again. Like, they were bragging today about 308 or whatever rounded up. Are you kidding me? Add 3 more zeros to that, bitch. 300. That's what they were doing under Biden. Anyhow, so bragging about that. What a joke. But this act allows the president to round people up and ship them out. Now, the 14th Amendment, which made citizens out of blacks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Black people out there. Have you ever been, are you white? Have you ever been thanked by a black person for being given citizenship in the greatest country on earth? Have you ever been thanked? Nah, I'm going to go ahead and bet that you haven't. I've never been thanked. They'll blame you for racism and slavery, but they won't thank you for electricity and citizenship in the United States. They won't thank you for that. So the 14th Amendment gave them citizenship, and then many times over the years since then, post-war for Southern independence, the Supreme Court has come down and said, oh, this applies to everyone, anyone born on American soil. Like, how could that even happen? We're 90+% white country, and our Supreme Court is concluding that anybody who comes into our country can plop a child and its afterbirth on the soil, and suddenly they have the most valuable thing on planet Earth, which is American citizenship. Let them go to a bank first, empty the vault, and as long as they get the money to the parking lot, they're good to go. They're free. That's the equivalent, except that's not nearly as valuable as American citizenship. That is stolen from whom? From white America and the good non-white people in America. That's who it's stolen from. So over the years, they've continued to reaffirm, oh, no, it just applies to anybody who drops a child, except for a diplomat's child, I believe. Anybody who drops a child. So you're going to have, the Supreme Court is going to have to address whether or not the Friends Aliens Act 1798 is lawful. And odds are not good, I'm afraid. At least from my layman's reading of it. The odds are not good that the Supreme Court is going to say, oh, yes, he can, irrespective of the 14th Amendment. So that would mean that Congress, and you all remember me mentioning this, Congress will have to tackle this. They will have to modify the 14th Amendment. When are they going to do that? If they're going to do that, they better start right now, because they've got 1 year, not 4 years, 1 year, because the next year, they all half of them begin running for office again, which means they're not going to get involved in anything controversial. The Republicans, you need them all to push that through. So it's got to happen immediately. That would mean Trump would have to get behind them and light a fire under Johnson and Thune immediately. This is number one. You've got to address, because here's the reality. What did we talk about here? And it wasn't just me, it was champions in this community. What did we talk about here during the first Trump administration that came to fruition on day one in the Biden administration? He just reversed everything. And that's what we're looking forward to if there aren't fundamental changes by way of Congress. Even there, though, if you don't address the moral tapestry and defeat the anti-white immoral imperative that is the social morality of the West, then it doesn't even matter what Congress does. A future Congress will just reverse it. Before then, a judge will just reverse it because of the social morality of the country, of the West. That's what really needs to be addressed. And if Trump wants to have an impact that lasts for centuries, he's going to have to address, using the Go Free dialogic, the social morality of the country. He's not going to be able to merely ban certain aliases that anti-whites use. He's not going to be able to ban certain flags that anti-whites might use and have a lasting impact. In fact, it will be just 4 years, even if that. Like he banned, Ramsey mentioned, I saw the news on this as well today. He banned all embassies, or I guess it was, who was it? Was it Rubio? Who is it? Marco Rubio, right? Head of State Department, banned the anti-white flag, which is the one with all the colors, and Black Lives Matter flag from embassies and U.S., not just the embassies, but any holdings, military base, etc., around the world. That's going to last if it's not somehow challenged, or not some base or some embassy just refuses, or whatever it is, and they just go ahead and fly those anti-white flags anyhow. It's only going to last for 4 years, and then it'll be gone. It'll be another, even if you say, well, what if Blowjob gets into office after that? That'll just be a piece that they will pawn away for some deal. Yeah, you can have those flags back as long as we can get more discounts for this corporation or that lobby or whatever. It'll be gone. So if Trump really wants to have a lasting impact, and we somehow need to get to him, we somehow need to get to Barron, we somehow need to continue pushing through Trump Jr., we've got to keep pushing. Because if there's going to be a lasting impact, a growing impact, a recapture of the West from the jaws of anti-whiteism, the social morality has to be addressed. Everything else, as much as we celebrate it now and we can enjoy it, as much as we laugh at the opposition losing their minds, and we've got some great video of that maybe to share, as much as we can enjoy that, we have to appreciate that a job has to be done here. Something fundamental has to be done. You may not use that alias anymore. You can't use the alias of critical race theory. You can't use the alias of DEI. You can't use these aliases anymore. And then the anti-whiteism just continues. Even if it is experiences a mild diminution during these 4 years, it just keeps chugging right along. So we realize that there's work for us to do. We got to stay on top of it. This is looking promising. Trump administration officials are considering deploying as many as 10,000 soldiers. Would you watch Fox News if the talking heads did that? Don't you hate that weird way they learn to talk? It's the same. I thought it was, there's a video going around, maybe you've seen it. It's a black, actually there's a couple, but the one I'm thinking of is a black guy who's a reporter, maybe like down in Georgia for some local station. And he's like, "This is Kenneth Johnson, and I'm outside the school of," and it's that same weird talking. And then a bee flies up and goes into his mouth for a second. And then he's like, "Motherfucker, God." He's swatting everywhere. It's like you can take them out of the low-income housing, but you can't take the low-income housing out of the reporter. 10,000 soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border, and using is satirization back? I mean, it seems like maybe it is. Maybe. I've really been loving both. It's like on both sides of the spectrum. You have, look at me, I can't even read the article. I'm so out. But can you appreciate my drip? I'm all over the place. Can you appreciate my drip today? Slaps. I'm slapping. No capping. But you have the anti-whites really coming unglued over Musk throwing his heart to the crowd. And we'll talk about that, because I'll tell you what it really was. What I think it really was, at least, okay? They're losing their mind. They're like, "We told you. I told." These videos are so funny. "I told you." She's like, there's a big box of like cat litter. And what a surprise. In the background, there's a big box, and the shelves are dirty. They got like 2 inches of dust on them. And she's like, "I told you, they're all neo-Nazis." And then on the other side of the spectrum, the non-white race spurgs, they're all like, "Is he our guy? Did we misunderstand? Maybe the whole H-1B thing was just to throw people off the scent. Maybe he's our guy." Could you imagine living your life like that? You probably know some people doing that. 10,000 soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border. You know what he should have done was he should have airdropped the Rangers or the 101st, whatever. He should have dropped 82nd Airborne. He should have dropped them on the border. That would have been more Trumpian. Somehow I knew how to be more Trumpian than Trump this time. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. But that would have been epic. You know what I mean? The C-130s flying over, the video of that. The C-130s are flying, and the paratroopers are flying out of the back of it. APCs flying out of the back. You got this Galaxy. What is the Galaxy again? You got the Galaxy flying. You got tanks flying out of the back with parachutes on it. What is the Galaxy? Somebody tell me what that one is. The numbers for it. You got that falling out of the back. That would have been totally epic. But instead, they're going to, I don't know. What are they going to do? They're going to drive them down there in like 2-ton trucks? Come on. Mexico border using Department of Defense bases to hold migrants. I want cages. We want cages. Yeah. Well, you're going to send them to cages? Yes. And here's a rail car as well. Is satirization back? Can we tell jokes? Clean of white noir over. He's like, sharp? What on my drip? On my drip, looking sharp. Deportation is a planned their dramatic crackdown on illegal immigration, according to an internal government memo obtained by CBS News. You know, another problem with the massive crackdown that they're talking about, if they're not using, actually, I want to get back to my point about the Friend Alien Act 1798, because there's something great in there, really great. But if they're going to have a massive roundup, then I was speculating that they'll have to use the military somehow. And they're not, maybe they're doing that a little bit, but they're not going into the cities, and they got posse comitatus. But how do you get around it? Well, there are ways. And because otherwise, Congress has to appropriate money for ICE. And if it stays at X level, whatever that is, you don't have more ICE agents. Tom Homan was asked about how is this, you know, what's the difference between before and today? And he's like, well, we're using more people. Really? Where are you getting them? Right? You have the same number of ICE agents as the day before, and you don't have more money for them. So unless Congress appropriates a shit ton more money for ICE, it won't get bigger. In an executive action, Mr. Trump signed upon taking office on Monday. He declared a national emergency along the southern border and ordered the Defense Department to provide troops. Now, there you go. To support the activities of the Secretary of Homeland Security in obtaining complete operational control on the border. She might be busy shooting bad dogs. He also instructed the military to help build border barriers to repel migrants. You mean anti-white intruders into our home? On Wednesday, White House Press Secretary Caroline, maybe we'll just call her Caroline, the woman that the great Clips took down, God bless him, Levitt, told reporters that the president had signed. I've got to go into a Southern accent for the next 4 years. Caroline, how long will this little girl be able to handle the heat of being White House secretary? President has signed another executive order to deploy 1,500 troops to the southern border. Zippity-doo-dah. I mean, seriously, 1,500? Where 2,500 soldiers are already stationed under federal orders. Are those active? No, National Guard. Texas and other states have also deployed National Guard. Remember, Virginia, I was surprised to find out 2 years ago that Virginia had already sent even Air National Guard down to the border. And I was like, finally, Virginia does something that you could be a little proud of. So maybe these are active duty Army. But the Internal Customs and Border Protection memo dated January 21 indicates there's a plan to dispatch 10,000 to help the agency's mission at the southern border. Now you would begin doing something. You could begin doing something, not totally, but you could begin doing a little better. 10,000. That's where you should be starting with 10,000. Now, I understand they're also going to be using military aircraft to be shipping the anti-white intruders back to their countries of origin. Just so much news has come in. What do you all find the most interesting? Make sure you tag me. I think we have to have a look at one of the aggrieved, one of the anti-whites who are most aggrieved by what's happening right now. Let's hear from this interesting human being and what she, he, it, they have to say.
Well, it's been rough. It was not what I was expecting. at all, considering some of the rhetoric he has said. I thought we as a nation were smarter, but I guess not. To my transgender and friends and, you know, the people who it affects, as long as you stay alive, they cannot say we don't exist.
What? So wait, what she's saying is, if they're not made dead, then we just can't say that you don't exist? That's kind of an odd gauntlet to throw at this moment.
Being a Satanist means rebelling against them because they're wrong. And as long as you draw a breath, every breath you take is a rebellion. Keep on fighting because you just have to. Hail Satan, hail reason always.
Hail Satan, hail reason. Yeah, you look like a person heavily into deep thinking, logic, reason,